there, fiber junkies! Welcome back to the Color Cauldron. I'm Johanna, the owner and dyer behind Potion Yarns and the host of this podcast. If you're a new viewer, thank you for joining us today, and if you are a returning viewer, welcome back. I'm so glad that you guys decided to join me today. We're just gonna have a quick little video, well, hopefully a quick little video. I just wanted to go over a couple exciting new releases and talk about some things that I've been working on lately. So let's dive right in. The first thing that I wanted to talk about is what I've been working on knitting. We're gonna save the exciting news for the end, I think. So I have been knitting pretty steadily on some projects that I showed you a couple weeks ago, and I'm making some progress with those. The first one are my vanilla socks. They're 2 at a time toe up vanilla socks, so I don't have a pattern. I'm just going off of what I'm using. I'm doing the Fish Lips Kiss heel, but I think I showed these a few weeks ago on the podcast, and they were just itty bitty baby socks, but these are my keep in my purse, go everywhere knitting, and I pulled them out the other day and worked on them in front of the TV too, just because I was getting to the heel part, and I was really excited to do the whole heel in one sitting. So I've done the Fish Lips Kiss heel, and I am now ready for knitting the leg. So got the feet all done. This yarn is the February Yarn Club colorway from Leon Alexander Yarns, and they are absolutely fabulous. I love the guys behind Leon Alexander. Their yarns are so pretty. As you can probably see, they have like super hot pinks and purples, a lot of this tealy aquatic blue, some little dashes of yellow and green, and lots of white space, which I really like. So I'm excited for those. I'm just really trying to build up my hand knit sock collection right now. For a while, I felt like I did a ton of socks, and so I just stopped. And then a lot of my older socks that I knit several years ago and wore all the time were really starting to fall apart. And a lot of my early knit socks, I didn't do as good a job on being careful about my ease and fit, which if you have more questions about that, or if you're having trouble with your socks not fitting really well, you might want to go back and check out my sock series that we did a few weeks ago. There were, I forget if it was 4 videos, I think it was 4 weeks. It's either 4 or 5, but we did a whole sock series where we talked about different parts of the sock, and one of them was specifically on ease and fit and how to make sure that you're getting your socks to fit appropriately, and that totally rocked my world and has changed the way that I knit socks as well as garments and other items. So go check that sock series out, but I'm doing a better job these days about making sure that my socks are actually knit to my proportions and the comfort level I like, because I like my socks to be pretty snug. I don't like them to be very loose, because then as I wear them, they tend to get looser and fall down a lot. And so, yeah, I'm trying to replace a bunch of my older kind of loose, gross socks that are starting to get holes and fall apart and really aren't worth saving anyways, with some new socks. So I am actually doing the Box of Socks cowl this year. I've never done it before. And if you're not familiar, Box of Socks is basically a cowl that goes on every year. I don't know if she started it or if she's just instrumental in it, but I think Kristen of Wool and Vine Yarns and the Yarngasm podcast, I think she's the one that either started it or has kept it going or whatever, but she's who I heard about it from on her podcast, and I really enjoy it. It's basically you just knit a pair of socks every month for a year, and at the end you have a whole box of socks. So, and you can do more than one a month, but you have to do at least one a month. And so I have so far stayed on track. I did a pair of vanilla socks from a sock blank, which I showed you guys on the podcast in January. And then I did a pair of the Love to Crew socks from the Socktopus book. And you can also find the pattern on Ravelry. And it's basically just a little lacy chart, all over lace pattern that looks like little hearts all over, super cute, in my hand-dyed yarns in a pink colorway that I did for February. And I don't think I ever showed those on the podcast, so I'll have to bring those out sometime. And then this month I'm back to doing vanilla socks. I just really enjoy vanilla socks, and I felt like I needed a lot, and I am trying to use up some of my really bright, variegated, crazy colored yarns where I really want the yarn to be center stage and not the stitch pattern, so I've been really trying to work on those. But I think I'm gonna try, I'm hoping to get these ones finished in March, although that's quickly coming up. The end of March is approaching rapidly, but I think I can do it. And then in April, I'm thinking I might want to try another pattern, but I'm going to try to do something really simple. The Two Love Crew one wasn't bad, but it was a little more complex than I had anticipated. So I really want to try something that's patterned, but not super, super hard for April, because I have a really busy April and I want to make sure I get it done. So that's what I'm working on for now. I've been making progress on my Swamp Witch sweater, which if you guys were here a few weeks ago and watched the podcast, I mentioned this and I've shown it before. This is the Armand pattern. So it's a free pattern on Ravelry by Andy Satterland. I really recommend it. It's just a really good basic cozy cardigan. And it's knit in one piece for the body from the bottom up. It has pockets, you guys. My favorite thing ever. This is actually the reason I chose this sweater. I loved the look and the silhouette of it, but the pockets is what did it for me and made me decide to go for it. And then I have now finished the body, so I've grafted the shoulders together. And so I have these holes over here where I'm gonna pick up stitches for the sleeves, and then I'll still need to do the collar and everything. But it's coming along, but I put it down for a while. I actually haven't knit anything on it for about 2 weeks or a little over. I meant to. I just got busy and I was focusing on some other projects like my portable socks, and I have a couple shawls I was working on, one of which I'm wearing, which we'll talk about in a little bit. But I just kind of got busy with other projects and put it on the back burner, and now the weather is starting to get nicer. It's still a little bit chilly this week, kind of 40s and 50s, but it's starting to get nicer, and I've heard it's supposed to be like mid or upper 60s here in Kansas City this weekend. And I'm like, oh man, I hope I still get to wear this cardigan by the time I finally finish it. So I really need to get cracking on that. I really need to pick up the sleeves and just get working, because I'm loving the pattern and it's actually going very quickly when I work on it. It's just that I don't work on it very often. So there's one other thing I've been working on pretty heavily at the moment. Oh, and the reason I called the Armand my Swamp Witch sweater is because I'm using my Swamp Witch colorway, my hand-dyed yarns in Swamp Witch, for the yarn. It's a pretty busy speckle, which is why it needed such a light, or not light, but such a simple pattern. It's mostly stockinette, a little bit of ribbing. It's very, very simple, so it'll really show off the yarn, and that's what I was looking for. So I have also been working like a crazy person on my Gaga For You shawl. This is by Julie something that I can't pronounce because it's French. Julie Duprose or something like that. But it's called Gaga For You, and it's a brioche shawl. It's knit in 2 colors, or like I've done it, you can knit it in 4 colors or more technically, but she knit hers for the sample in 4, so that's what I decided I wanted to do. And you like fade in and variegate different colors as you go, but because it's 2-color brioche, you are always going to be working with 2 colors at a time, so you have a reversible shawl. And I'm loving the colors. I'm using 4 colors of hand-dyed yarn that I talked about on the podcast 2 weeks ago, I believe. Might have been last week. I think it was 2 weeks ago. So, but lots of indie dyers, and I just really, actually I think everything on here is an indie dyed yarn, which is so fun. I'm really enjoying it, but I'm not going to lie, this pattern has been rough. I have had quite a few issues with it, including the most recent one was in section 2 of the chart, or of the shawl. She has it divided into sections, and then you repeat each section however many times, and then you go on to the next section. So in section 2, I was breezing along just fine after I ripped the entire thing out, which you can hear more about in previous videos. I was breezing along pretty well, and I got to section 2 and really found that I'd forgotten to move one of my markers over like you're supposed to do on the last repeat of section 1. And so one of my lace panels was like slightly off, and I still had the correct number of stitches though, I just hadn't moved it like 2 stitches over. So I decided, after looking at it and agonizing, I decided to just keep going because it was only slightly off. And so there's one little section that goes like that and then gets back on, and then it's fine. But I think that somehow I still ended up I have uneven numbers of stitches, of plain stitches between the lace repeats, if that makes sense. So you're supposed to have like plain stitches, like say 15 plain stitches and then a lace repeat, and then 20 plain stitches and then a lace repeat, and then 20 and then a lace, and then 15 and a lace, or whatever. Those aren't the exact numbers, but you get the idea. And mine aren't exactly even. They're not mirror images. I've got like 11 over here and 16 over here and 20 here and 24 here. And I've had so much trouble with this shawl. I decided I don't care. I've also decided this is going to be a life process shawl. Every time I wear this shawl, if I even notice, which most of the time I can't notice because the colors are so busy, it's not really that noticeable. But if I do notice that something is off on this shawl, I think I'm going to just remind myself I'm knitting this shawl at a really, I don't know what the word is. I'm going through a lot of upheaval in my personal life right now, and it's caused a lot of stress and a lot of crying and a lot of ripping out and re-knitting of my life, as well as my knitting. And so I'm not surprised that most of my knitting projects are not going incredibly smoothly right now, because art mirrors life, right? And so right now my knitting is really taking a hit, and I think it's because my life is taking a hit. And like, I'm gonna be fine. It's totally okay. I'm even excited about the changes that I see coming. I'm going through kind of the crappy part where a lot of stuff gets taken away from you, and you feel like you're doing everything poorly, and you feel like you're unhappy and dissatisfied with where you're at, but that dissatisfaction drives you to make a change, right? So I'm in the process of making a lot of changes, and it's really exciting where I'm going, but I'm stuck in it's not happening as fast as I want, and it's not always going the way I want, and some of the things I thought I wanted are getting taken away, and I'm having to change my expectations or change the way I approach it, and so that's happening in my knitting too. So I've decided this shawl is going to be my life lesson shawl, and every time I look at it, I'm going to remind myself that the joy is in the journey, not the destination, and that doesn't mean the destination isn't important. It is important, but sometimes it's important to learn how to be flexible and how to make things work out for you, how it best fits you in your life. Just because everyone else is doing it a different way, that doesn't always work for me. And sometimes I need to be okay with the fact that my life is going to look a little crazy and screwed up to everybody else, because I'm a completely unique person, and I'm going to have to take my own way getting there. And my shawl is also going to be a little crazy and screwed up. It's not going to look like the samples, and it's not going to look all pretty like the people who are doing it perfectly and breezing along without any issues. I'm the one having all the issues, but that's okay. It doesn't mean I'm dumb. It doesn't mean I'm stupid. It just means it's not working for me, and I'm finding my own way to do it. So I've jiggered a few of the numbers, and I've made a few little adjustments here and there to just keep going with the way that works for me. And I've mentioned that in the Ravelry thread of the knit along, and the designer and several other people are really encouraging and are like, yeah, you just whip that shawl into shape. Do it the way that you want to do it. It doesn't need to look like ours. And I'm like, you know what? You're right. I'm just going to do it that way, and I'm going to do my life that way too. Trying to learn how to have grace in this situation. So that's what I've been knitting on. I have several other projects that I have yarn wound for, or yarn like picked out for, but I haven't actually cast on yet. And I'm really trying to hold off, because for a while I was glorying in I'm not a monogamous knitter, and that's okay. And it is okay. But I think I got a little overboard with it, and I started taking on like way too many projects, and it started causing stress. And that was also mirroring my life. Part of why I'm going through change is I'm trying to de-stress my life by having fewer things on my plate every day. And I think that I need to do that with my knitting. So I'm holding off on those things that I'm really excited about, like the Sherlock Lives cardi that I told you guys about a couple weeks ago. I have the yarn all wound, I've got the pattern all printed, and I'm looking at it, but I just think I need to wait until I get at least a few more of these things further along or finished before I jump into that. So trying to have grace and patience with myself and not overload myself right now. That's the life lesson I'm learning right at the moment. Okay, so let's talk about the last thing that I knit, which is actually finished. I showed it to you last week, and today I'm wearing it, and it is the Jours wrap by Lisa Fisher Martin. I don't know if she goes by Lisa Martin or Lisa Fisher Martin, but either way, you can find her on Ravelry. I will put a link to her Instagram and Ravelry below. I'll just put this pattern link and then her Instagram as well. But this is the pattern. I showed it last week. It is so beautiful, you guys. I am in love. And I wore it all day yesterday and just couldn't get enough of it. And I posted photos all over Facebook, and everyone else couldn't get enough of it either. It's such squishy. If you love squishy garter stitch, you're gonna love it, because that's all it is. And short row shaping, which is like my favorite thing. When I get to do short rows, I get so excited. And I was gonna do a short row tutorial today, and then life got in the way and it did not happen. So I think I'm gonna work on a short row tutorial video, hopefully next week or the week after. I'm not sure when that'll come out, but I am gonna do a short row tutorial and show you guys how to do just basic wrap and turn short rows. We might also do another type of short row. I'm not sure about that yet. I need to do some research, but we're at least gonna do the basic one, which is all you need to do in here. She writes it for, the pattern is written for just basic wrap and turn, but you don't have to pick up your wraps because it's garter stitch, and I tried it both ways and found I did actually like not picking up the wraps better. Usually even in garter stitch, I prefer to pick up my wraps, but for this one, because it's knit at such a loose gauge, you don't actually need to, and if you pick it up, it kind of made some weird little holes. So I chose not to pick up mine. It's easier and simpler anyways. So yeah, I really love that. And the pattern just came out this week. Actually, it came out yesterday on Wednesday, the 21st, and I'm filming this on Thursday. So it just came out. It's already on Ravelry. And here's the news you've been waiting for. I have a really special offer that Lisa was so gracious and offered just to my viewers of the Potion Yarns Color Cauldron podcast. So last week I announced that we were gonna have a special discount code for you guys. And here it is. If you want to purchase just the pattern from Lisa on Ravelry, you can do that. Just go to Ravelry, put the Tulle Jours wrap in your cart. Again, the link will be below. And then use the coupon code dun, 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 Potion18, Potion 18. That will get you 25% off of the pattern. And that is an exclusive discount code just for us. So thank you so much, Lisa. And you guys should definitely go check that out and use it. But you only have until April 15th to use the code. So you need to go there and get it now. Also, here's the other fun thing. Let's say you just really love the colors that I've used, or you just really love my yarn. I have a limited number of kits, but I do have some kits available for this shawl with my hand-dyed yarns and the pattern. So I have two options for you if you want to buy a kit. You can always just go to my website and pick out any 3 colors of fingering weight yarn that you want, then go buy the pattern from Lisa and get your 25% off, and you're good to go. You will not need a full skein of each of these, so if you have some of my yarns and you haven't used the whole thing, she has the amounts that you'll need in the pattern. I think I used, on one of my colors, I think I used only like 90 yards or something, and everything else was about a half a skein. But the 3 colors that I used for my shawl are the first kit, so Tulle Jours kit number 1. I have 7 of these left in the shop currently. And you'll get a skein of Siren Song, this beautiful bright blue tonal. You'll get Luminous Algae, which is this neon yellow, highlighter yellow with fun speckles. And Walk on the left side, which is a really pretty white with blue and green and brown and gray speckles. Those 3 colors, you'll get full skeins. So you have enough to make this wrap in these colors and enough left to make a hat, a pair of socks, another shawl maybe. You could probably get 2 out of these if you change the order of the colors. So yeah, you have definitely enough to make 2 projects with each of these 3 full-size skeins that you'll get. And I have another option for you as well. Let's say those colors aren't your cup of tea because they're pretty bold and bright. I also have a 3rd colorway option. This one is Brave New World, which was in a couple of my fade kits. It's a white background with brown and orange speckles and little occasional flashes of blue. I absolutely love it. And then Granny Takes a Trip is a really gorgeous peach tonal background with green and orange and brown speckles and some other fun colors. I think there's a little bit of like blue and purple in there too. And then We'll Always Have Paris is a tonal. This would be the blue colorway you would use. And it's a really pretty corally pink kind of color, like a deep corally pink with some glazing of kind of a deeper purple in there. It's really, really gorgeous. These 3 look phenomenal together. So there's a pink set and a blue set. So that's kit number 2. And there's only a few of those left. I've already sold some, but there's only a couple of those left. But you can get those. Each of the kits is dyed to order, so it's not ready to ship. But I'm anticipating only a 1 to 2 week turnaround right now as opposed to the 2 to 3 weeks. And I always overestimate, so I'm hoping I can get them out even sooner than that. But at worst, it would be about 2 weeks to wait on that, but you would get everything. Now, because Lisa's offering us a really great discount on the pattern, I didn't want you to miss out on that discount if you're purchasing a kit from my shop. So I am also offering a discount where you'll get 25% off the pattern plus the yarn, and that discount code is the exact same that she uses, so it's easy for you to remember. It's just Potion18. So you'll be able to use that code to get the pattern at the discounted rate from my shop as well. And what will happen if you purchase a kit, you will receive in the mail 3 skeins of yarn after they're dyed and a printed out pattern info sheet, which just has a picture of my shawl on it and all of the specs of the pattern. So it'll tell you like the yarns you need, the needle, everything, a little bit of a description about it. And at the bottom, it will have a coupon code. That is a single-use code that is just for you to use on Ravelry. So once you receive your package in the mail, you go on Ravelry with the link on the pattern page and you put in You put this in your cart, and it'll show, I believe it's $6, so it'll show $6 for the wrap, and then you put in that code, and it will take off that $6 and show that you already paid it, because that went to me, and part of that goes to Lisa, so we've already worked that out. So you can just purchase one time in the shop, pattern and kit, and then you put that code in Ravelry, and it'll be in your Ravelry library, and you can refer to it digitally, print it out as many times as you want, etc. So you will get an info sheet and the yarn in the mail with instructions on how to get that to your Ravelry library. And if you use the Potion 18 discount, you will get that 25% off the pattern. Again, that is going to be good through April 15th as well. So, two really great options. You can choose it with the yarn, or you can choose it with just the pattern. So here's another little idea I had for you guys. When I was choosing colors, I had a really tough time, and I loved these two together. This is Granny Takes a Trip and Brave New World. I loved these ones, and I ended up putting it with We'll Always Have Paris because I just love that pink. But I think if you're more into earthy tones, I think it also looks phenomenal with Perfect Gentleman, which is my deep brown tonal. These look so good together. That would be another really great option as well. And there's tons of stuff in my shop that would be great. I have chosen 2 speckles and a tonal for each of my kits because I really liked how the speckle yarns look. However, Lisa knit her sample, the original sample that the designer knit, is in 2 tonals and 1 speckle. So you could also do it that way. She just chose a really light neutral tonal and then a light neutrally background with speckles over it, and then her second tonal, or her third colorway, was a really bright orange. And so she has a little bit different look to hers, and you could absolutely do that as well. There are so many colors in my shop that look phenomenal together, and I've been trying to put more color combos together in my photos that I'm doing on Instagram and Facebook lately. So if you need some inspiration, you should follow me on Facebook and Instagram and check out my photos. I will often do color pairings or just have some colors arranged together so you can see how they look, and sometimes that'll give you really good ideas. And then you can always feel free to email me or send me a message and ask me about specific color combos if you're looking through stuff and you're not sure how they'll look. I frequently have customers that will say, you know, I like these 4 colors and I want to do a fade sweater with these 4 colors, but how do those look together? And then I'll go and actually physically look at the yarn and be like, oh yeah, this is great, or well, that looks really good, but I would switch out this one color. And usually, I can't promise I can always do this. Sometimes I just tell you, yeah, that looks great, or no, I would switch these ones out. But sometimes, if I have the time at all, I will try to take a photo and send it to you as well. And then sometimes when you just see them all lined up together, it's easier than like opening multiple tabs on my website and trying to envision them. So I do my best to help you out whenever I can, but at the least you can always just send me a question and I'll tell you, oh yeah, those colors look really great together, or every now and then somebody will put colors together that do look good in the hank, but I just know from working with them, dyeing them, or knitting with them, I'll be like, those look really awesome, except when you knit them up, they actually look almost identical, or they're just not enough contrast to really highlight the pattern you're looking at. So I try to help you out as much as I can with that whenever possible. So definitely go check those out. Get yourself a kit. I cannot tell you how much fun this shawl was to knit. It's really pretty easy. If you're an experienced or intermediate knitter, this is going to be like such an easy breeze to knit. But if you're a beginner, it is not out of your range at all. It's not going to be difficult, but it will help to improve your knitting because of the short row shaping and just all the fun colors are so much fun to work with. I really enjoyed this, and I love the shape of it. It's a crescent, but it's a really like wide, shallow crescent, so it's really, really wearable and easy. And it's called Tous Jours because that means all the days, and she designed it to be worn in all seasons wear so that you can really wear it just whenever, and it's not too heavy. It's very lightweight, but it is warm and really cozy because of the squishy garter stitch. So I just love it. I highly recommend checking it out. There's only one other thing I have to let you guys know about, and that is a stash acquisition. I've been trying really hard not to purchase yarn lately because I'm trying to save money. We have some big goals that we're trying to go for that has to do with the change that's coming. We're really looking around at our life and the house and some of our choices and thinking, you know, we could like fix some stuff up, we could change some things, we could sell something and buy something new, and we just need to have a little bit more saved up for some of the big changes that we have coming, that we think are coming down the road in the future. So we're trying to save some money right now, and I also am just feeling like for a while I was getting really bad about just acquiring things to inspire me instead of using what I have to be inspired. So I'm not on such an extreme yarn diet that I won't buy anything ever, but I am trying to be on a pretty tight budget right now. And so I haven't bought any yarn for a while, and even just knitting this shawl, this test knit, and diving into my own shop and purchasing yarns for myself, you know, out of my personal funds from my business, I felt kind of guilty about even that, even though it was for the podcast, for the show, for my business. I was like, yeah, but it's fun knitting. Like, I don't know if I should do that. I'm glad I did because I loved it, and I'm glad that I was able to team up with Lisa and offer these great deals for you. But I've been trying really hard not to accumulate too much yarn and just knit with what I have. And so I was real bad. And yesterday I went to the Create It studio here in Kansas City, which is one of the shops that has some of my yarn for sale, just very small amounts of it, but they've been selling some of my yarn, and I've done trunk shows with them and stuff. And they have a couple other local Kansas City indie dyers that they sell there as well. And one of them is called A Guy with Two Needles, Hand-Dyed Yarns. I don't know if you can see his label. His name is Kim, and he dyes yarn here somewhere around the Kansas City area. And I've never met him, but I had heard of his company before. I've never knit with any of his stuff before. But I was in there yesterday, and I'd seen his yarns and thought, oh, he has some cool stuff here, you know? Like, it's always fun to see what other dyers are doing. And yesterday I was in, and I went to go check my inventory, and his was right next to it, and he had this skein of sparkle sock that was just took my breath away. It has this like chartreusey green. Y'all know how I feel about chartreusey greens. They're like the best ever. Had this great chartreusey green, these fun pinks and purples, some blacks, some little hints of gold and orange. I mean, these are my colors. Like any kind of like deep rainbowy, but like with kind of a grungy, glamoury edge to it is so my thing, and add sparkles in the mix and I'm a goner. So of course I bought it, even though I was like, I should not be buying yarn right now. Of course I bought it. And I'm excited to try it out. I'm excited to support another local Kansas City person. I love getting supported by my local customers. It's so fabulous, and I really love to support local businesses. So I'm excited to try that, and I'm excited to try a new indie dyer. And this colorway is called Corvus, C-O-R-V-U-S. And it's 438 yards, superwash merino, 75% superwash merino, 20% nylon, 5% stellina, and it is fingering. I am really excited to try this out. So I'm going to put a link to his Etsy shop below so you can go check out his yarns. And if you're in the Kansas City area, you can find several of them at the Create It studio as well. But I have no idea what this is going to be. I'm thinking maybe put it with some other colors in like a fun crazy shawl maybe. I think it'd be great in brioche, or I might even just do socks. I really don't know yet. I have no idea. I bought it to just sit and stash and inspire me until I find the perfect thing. But yeah, I'm excited to have something new, a little something special for me. So that's all I have for you today. Go check out that pattern, buy a kit, or at least buy the pattern. Give Lisa some love. Leave her a really flattering comment on her Ravelry and tell her how much you love the pattern, because it is phenomenal. Go check out her pictures too. She has super amazing, totally professional, awesome, gorgeous photos of her test knits that she did on her project page on Ravelry, and they will take your breath away and make you absolutely want to knit this pattern. So definitely go check that out and check out my kits as well. Thank you guys so much for giving me your time today. I hope you have a great time, but it is now time to cast off. Love you.